Good afternoon, good morning, hello guys. I've decided to make a video of me as if I was in front of the class to teach you because percents are starting to really get more involved and I just want to make sure that we're understanding what we're doing. So we have been using the percent equation, correct? So we know that the percent equation is when you write all your information as an equation, right? So the percent equation is the percent times the whole, which is equal to the part. Okay, so the equation has not changed. And we also know that the key word for the whole is of. So when you see that word of, they're referring to the whole amount of what you're talking about. And the key word for the part is. So when you see the word is, we're referring to the is of what you're talking about. Okay, so now what we're looking at is we're going to be looking at the percent proportion. And some of you are going to find the percent proportion a lot easier, which is absolutely fine. And if you do, you're more than welcome to use the percent proportion instead of the percent equation. So let's look at that. It's all the same thing. It's all the same information, but it's just displayed differently. All right, so we'll start off with a simple example. We'll look at an example too. So 16% of 75 is some number. That's what we're going to find out. So the first thing we need to identify are the percent, the part, and the whole. So the percent, now the percent is always the easy one to find because it's the one with the percent number on it. So the percent is 16. The whole amount is easy to find because it's the one with the of. So the whole, whenever you see the word of, that tells you it's the whole, and that's 75. The part, it makes the part and the whole together make a fraction. The part is the one with the is, and in this sense, it's the blank. We don't know what the part is. So we have the percent, the whole, and the part. Our equation would have been 0.16 times 75, and when we multiply 0.16 times 75, we get 12. So we know that 16% of 75 is 12. Okay, so that was the equation. That's what we've been doing the whole time. Now we're going to look at a proportion. If you watch the puzzle video, you'll be familiar with it. So the proportion is the same setup every time, just like the equation, but it's a lot easier to remember where everything goes. Now we know a proportion is two fractions or two ratios that are equal. So when you write a proportion, that's the format. Even when we're done with percents and you have to look at other proportions are always that, two ratios that are equal. Our first ratio or first fraction has to do with the percent. Okay, so it's always going to represent our percent. So it's going to be always over 100. So this will always have 100. Now some examples have it as the second fraction over here. It doesn't matter where it goes. I always put it first because I know that answer. And for this problem, I know that 16% is my percent. So I'm going to put 16 over 100. Nice and easy. 16% of 75 is 12. This ratio over here is my part and whole. Now we know from fourth grade that a fraction is made up of a part and whole. So the formulas you always remember for this, it's always going to be the part on top and the whole is going to be on the bottom because that is your ratio, okay? You have a pie of 7 pieces, you ate 3 out of 7. That's your part and whole. So in this essence, in this problem here, I know that I have my whole because of the word of, so that's going to go on the bottom. I don't know what my part is because I had to find it. So I always like to put a big box there. If you are comfortable with using a variable, then you may, but we are not there yet. We're going to move into that next, so I'm fine with the box. All right, now you don't need to put that in there, but I just wanted to show you that that is the part and the whole. So let's look at this ratio without all the stuff. I'm just going to erase this part right here so you can see it. Okay, so I'm going to go back and write the ratio. It's 75, and there's my box. And this is your part over whole. So how do I do this? Well, if you remember in your Ed puzzle video, they always said you can cross multiply and then divide or simplify. And this one is a very friendly ratio, so friendly fraction or ratio, so I'm going to simplify. I'm going to turn 16 over 100 into 4 25ths because 100 can be divided by 4. 16 divided by 4 is 4. 100 divided by 4 is 25. Now remember when we did ratios, we know that to get from here to here, you have to multiply something because they're equal. So I know that 25 times 3 gives me 75. So what I do to the bottom, I do to the top. So 4 times 3 gives me 12. And we got that when we solved for the ratio, for the equation. So some of you might like this a lot better because we did ratios and this is a lot smoother. Absolutely fine. I tend to use the equation. That's why I teach that one first. So that way you have an idea what's going on with the equation, and that way make the proportion so much easier because you know how to identify the whole, the part, and the percent. All right, so let's look at another example. So before we get to another example, I just want you to write down in your notebook what the proportion ratio is. So the proportion never changes. So the percent proportion is a formula that will always be the same. So all you need to do is plug in numbers. It's always going to be the value that's the percent will always go over 100. That's your first ratio. That will never change. I mean, it could be second, but that's your ratio. Always going to be the part over the whole. And remember, the key words for part and whole, a lot of times you're going to read in textbook, they don't say part and whole, they say is over of. And you might have heard that before, is over of. Okay, so those are your key words. All right, let's try another example and see what we get. All right, now we're going to do a different one. Let's do, I'll leave the proportion up there. Hopefully I have enough room. 49. 49 is 28% of what? 29 is 48% of what number? All right, so I'm going to write my proportion out. 1 fraction, 2 fractions. Every time, always is that. I know that one of them has to have 100 underneath because that's going to be my representing my percent. So I look at this problem and my percent is 28. So I'm going to do 28%. Okay? Now I have to look at the next part and decide if is it my part or my whole that is missing. Well, I'm looking for those keywords. Here's the is keyword. Here's the of keyword. So those will help me know which one goes where on the second ratio. Part always goes on top. Think fraction. 28 is part of 100%. 28% is part of 100%. So 49 is part of whatever this is. This is a part and whole too. 100% is the whole percent. 28 is part of that percent. Okay? So here we go. We have our fraction and we have our proportion all set up. So I have 28 over 100 equals 49 over something. I'm going to reduce again because I like to reduce. And I'm going to give you an example next, what happens if you can't reduce. So 28 over 100, I can again divide by 4. So 28 divided by 4 is 7. 100 divided by 4 is 25. Now, from our ratio, we know the rules that whatever you multiply the top by to get the new number, you multiply the bottom. So I'm going to do 7 times 7 gives me 49. So that means I have to do 25 times 7. And that gives me 175. There. 49 is 28% of 175. Okay? So if that's easier for you, that's fantastic. Use the proportion. Set it up, know what it's going to be, put the numbers in, and solve it. All right, let's try another example. Before I send you on your way. Okay, so we're going to keep the percent proportion up there again. So I know it's percent over 100 is equal to part over whole. And I know that that is over of. Those are my key words. So this one is what percent, well now I'm listening for the percent. What percent of 150 is 108? Okay, so those numbers, I can tell you right now, they're not going to be friendly in reducing. So my markers keep dropping, that's why I keep falling down there. So I'm going to set up my proportion. Now this example is when you can't reduce and you have to do it the other way. Again, you're using a calculator, so the bigger the number doesn't really matter, you're multiplying. What percent? So I don't know what my percent is. My 100 still has to go here. And now I'm going to put my question. What percent? Of 150. So that of tells me of 150, so that's going to go right here, is 108. And that is telling me that 108 of 150 is 108. So my 108 is my part, so that goes on top. Now I could sit here and keep reducing 108 and 150 until I get something, but we're going to do it the other way. Okay, so with your calculator, your help, you are going to cross multiply. So you're going to do 100 times 108. Okay, so 100 times 108, we know it equals 10,800. Now I have to do something with this 150. So because this guy is by himself, I'm going to take this and divide that number by 150. Okay, because you have to, because the opposite of multiplication is division. So that one number is going to be divided. And when you divide that, you get 0.72, which gives you 72%. So 72% of 150 gives you 108. And you can try that on your calculator, and you'll see how that is true. All right, you want me to do one more? Let me see if I have a good one for you. Hey, let's try. Oh, we just did that one. Let's try this one. One more, and then you can go and try some examples. Just filling in the numbers. Okay, what is, we'll do the nice easy one, 32% of 24. Let's try that. What is 32% of 24? I'm going to set up my proportion. I know it's two fractions all the time. I know one's going to have 100 underneath it because that's the whole of a percent. I know I'm going to go, what is? What is? So I know my is missing, so I can just put that box right there. 32%, there's my percent, so that's going to go here. Of 24, that of tells me it's going to go here. Now I'm going to reduce 32 and 100. It might help, it might not. Let's find out. I can reduce by 4, so 32 divided by 4 is 8. 100 divided by 4 is 25. Now, there is nothing that I can multiply 25 by to get 24. But I'm going to divide them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go backwards. I'm going to divide 24 by 25, and let's see what we get. So 24 divided by 25 is 0.96. Which means I multiply 25 times 0.96 to get 24. So that means I'm going to multiply 8 by 0.96 to get that value. So 0.96 times 8 gives me 7.68. 0.96. Okay, just because it's a decimal, it doesn't matter. I still did the same thing. I reduced it. I divided 24 by 25 to find out what I actually multiply by. Whatever I did down there, I do to the top. Okay, let's see if you guys can do some.